Sully here, the retired tanker yanker. Welcome to Transitions. If you're new to the channel, please take a moment and hit that subscribe button down there. And if you're a return visitor and not yet subscribed, this is the golden opportunity to correct that error. Again, thanks from the bottom of my heart to my subscribers for your continued support. Well, you can never tell. As I'm shooting this video, it is 5:19 on Thursday. And we still don't have a clear winner in the election. Although, the way things seem to be leaning, we probably will have a winner by the weekend. So, let the madness begin. Finally, I get to release this video, which I recorded about 2.5–3 weeks ago. It's a song by the late Robert Hunter. It's called Touch of Darkness. A song I've done before, maybe once or twice, but I kind of like the way I did it this time. And I really wanted to put it out last week, but the passing of Jerry Jeff Walker sort of got in the way of that. But today, here it is. But before you hear the song, I want to talk a little bit about an amazing poet and songwriter. Robert Hunter was born Robert Burns in 1941 near St. Louis Obispo, California. With a name like Robert Burns, you would think that the young fellow was destined to be a poet, but it was more than his name, it was his DNA. Hunter was, in fact, the great-great-grandson of Scottish poet Robert Burns. His alcoholic father abandoned the family when he was 7 years old, and young Robert had to live in a series of foster homes. Had a pretty bad time dealing with that, and he sort of reverted into books and writing, and in fact, by the age of 11, he had written a 50-page fairy tale. It was at the age of 11 that he moved back in with his mother, who had remarried a man named Norman Hunter. Hunter was a book publisher, and he gave young Robert writing lessons. Robert took his stepfather's last name. The family moved to Connecticut, and Robert went to Yukon for a year. After dropping out, he joined the National Guard and spent a year in the service of Uncle Sam. After leaving the service, he moved back to Palo Alto in 1960, where he was introduced to Jerry Garcia by a former girlfriend who was dating Garcia at the time. The two realized they had a love for music, and they actually formed a duo called Bob and Jerry, playing in coffee houses in what passed for a bohemian community in Palo Alto. But Hunter was rather limited in his guitar playing. Hey, I can appreciate that. I can relate to that. Garcia was an absolute perfectionist, and he really wanted to advance his art. It was also about this time that Garcia discovered bluegrass music and began playing in bluegrass bands in the Bay Area. On New Year's Eve of 1963 into 1964, he met a young teenager named Bob Weir. They were jamming together in a music store where Garcia worked. It was called Dana Morgan Music. And the two of them decided to form a band. Garcia had a couple friends, a bluesman and keyboard player named Ron Pigpen McKernan, and an R&B drummer named Billy Kreutzmann. At one of their gigs, they met a sort of an avant-garde, jazz, classically trained musician named Phil Lesh. And Garcia said, "Hey, you want to play the bass?" The band they formed was called the Warlocks, and they were playing gigs around the San Francisco and Palo Alto area until they learned that there was another band called the Warlocks. So one night they were around Robert Hunter's house, and they took out his Oxford dictionary. Garcia opened it, put his finger down on a page, and it landed on Grateful Dead. Garcia decreed that would be the name of their band, and although not all the members liked it, it is what it is. The funny thing is, the other band called the Warlocks decided that they had to do the same thing and come up with a different name. The name they agreed on was Velvet Underground. That's a true story. Around 1962, Hunter volunteered for experiments conducted covertly by the CIA, the use of hallucinogenics and other drugs in warfare. As part of this experiment, Hunter took LSD, psilocybin, and methamphetamine. Those drugs had a profound effect on him, and although the methamphetamine was something he didn't like, the hallucinogenics were. He was the first member of the Grateful Dead to get into hallucinogenics, and it greatly influenced his writing. When the Grateful Dead signed a record contract with Warner Brother Records, went into the studio, his lyrics on the album Grateful Dead, Anthem of the Sun, and Oxomoxoa were quite a part of the scene. However, after those three albums and pressure from the record company to do something a little bit more normal, the Dead got into Americana music and released probably two of their finest albums, Working Men's Dead and American Beauty. Hunter wrote the lyrics for all the songs on those albums. He especially helped out Pigpen with Operator, Weir with Sugar Magnolia, and Lesh with Box of Rain. But after that, he exclusively became the songwriting partner of Jerry Garcia. In 1994, when the Grateful Dead were inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, Hunter was included as a non-performing member of the band, the first person so honored. After Garcia passed away in 1995, Hunter went on a career of solo performing, and he continued writing songs. He once said that he had written more songs than the Grateful Dead could have recorded in 100 years, and these songs needed to be performed. He was very reclusive, though, and he really hated doing interviews, and especially hated it when somebody asked him what the lyrics to a certain song meant. If he responded at all, he would usually repeat the lyrics and then say, "What part of that don't you understand?" In 2015, he was inducted into the Songwriters Hall of Fame along with Jerry Garcia. Garcia's daughter, Trixie, accepted on her father's behalf. Hunter died in 2019 at his home in Palo Alto after an operation. He was probably one of the most enigmatic and probably one of the most complete songwriters of the late 20th and early 21st century. So without further ado, Touch of Darkness.
Why does the rain fall, the song wind blow? You don't ask, you may never know. Ask no questions and you'll still hear lies from well-intentioned with stardust in their eyes. How for you to love me when my heart had been struck dumb and poisons of my anger drip staccato like a drum. How good you to know me when touch me was to shame yourself in front of everyone's love, but still we share my pain. Now if I seem ungrateful and my face a little hard, that no virtue was its own reward. In some cemetery midnight underneath a wreath of rock, boats would shake in the pitch they're carried. With the shabby gilded weakness under which we all do live, denounce you in the darkness. How dare you not forgive? With each night so fully wretched, and it's gone so far from born. Oh, you slip so close to darkness, you could shake it by the horns. When morning does revive you, I've a little less of your hatred and your sorrow and your worst. I love you best. Some may steal the presents that we leave because we go. If they fare really well, then it's not ours to care or know. Touch of darkness, dark, the deeper shades of gray. Momentary madness, this too will pass away.
Man, you talk about a bear of a video to make. I don't know how many times I recorded that intro monologue. I originally wrote a script for it and was reading the script, and when I was looking at the video, I said, boy, that looks like I'm reading from a script. It sounds like I'm reading from a script, and quite frankly, it sucked. So I decided to use my memory and try to speak off the cuff. I'm still speaking a little stiffly in that monologue intro, but that was entirely from memory. Just for point of fact, I get my data on these musician monologues from Wikipedia, and I try to speak off the cuff when I write the video, but you know, a lot of the information I get is almost verbatim from Wikipedia. Anyway, I kind of like the way I did that song. I know I've done it in the past, and you know, I love the hell out of that song, and it's the nice thing about it is it's easy to play. Well, it's about time to get wrapped up and edit this video so that I can turn the TV on and continue to watch the election results. Regardless of who wins this election, remember, we will get by. We will survive. Hey, wasn't it Robert Hunter who wrote that? For transitions, this is Sully, the retired tanker yanker. Safe and happy travels, everybody.